Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari performs last Umrah ritual in Makkah as president. Governor Emmanuel commends passage of MAP establishment bill into law by State House of Assembly. Plus, U.S. National Guardsman charged with unauthorized transmission of classified documents. Details of the stories and more in a moment. We begin the news within the week with President Muhammadu Buhari's trip to Saudi Arabia, who performed their Umrah rituals amid the tight security at the Grand Mosque in Makkah on Wednesday. In a press statement by Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, Buhari was received by several officials, including a delegation from the General Presidency for the Affairs of the Grand Mosque and Nigerian Embassy staff. Meanwhile, a day earlier, President Muhammadu Buhari had also. Away from that, no fewer than 2 million vulnerable Nigerians have been impacted by projects implemented under the federal government's National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy for the year 2022. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity Office of the Vice President, Lalo Akande, in a statement today said the NPRGS Steering Committee met at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Akande said a progress report presented the Agriculture for Jobs plan. In the meantime, federal government within the week set up a panel to look into the alleged assault of personnel and customers of Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company (PHED) over an unpaid 6 million naira electricity bill by officials of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC). The act of indiscipline from its personnel who attacked the officials of PHED, thereby infringing on their fundamental human right. The Corps promised to caution its officers and men against the repeats of such incidents in the future. Meanwhile, the federal government on Thursday filed criminal charges against the defendants were charged with 4 counts before the Federal High Court in Abuja. The federal government alleged that the defendant allowed Brown, whose visa was earlier revoked, to accept employment as the CEO of the company without a statutory approval of the Controller General of Immigration or the consent of the Minister of Interior. The federal government also reportedly accused the defendant of instigating, encouraging, and allowing Brown, a non-Nigerian, to accept employment as Chief Executive Officer of Seplat Energy PLC even after withdrawal of his immigration and it's punishable by the Immigration Act 2015. However, no date has been fixed for the arraignment of the defendant. Away from that, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, ahead of Sierra Leone's general election in June within the week, led the West African Vice President of Gambia, Fatoumata Tambajang, would be interfacing with major political leaders and other key stakeholders in the country as a way of enhancing the confidence of Sierra Leoneans in the electoral process. According to reports, members of the missions are expected to hold consultations with the country's political actors and stakeholders, civil society groups and the diplomatic corps, the electoral management bodies and agencies in a bid to ascertain legislative matters now, where the National Assembly on Friday forwarded to President Muhammadu Buhari for assent the harmonization of the bill on the Nigerian Peace Corps after passage by both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Reports say the bill was transmitted for presidential assent by the Clerk of the National Assembly, Magaji Tambuwal, through a letter. Recall that the Senate had last week Tuesday adopted the report of the Conference Committee, which was set up by the two chambers to harmonize the bill for an act to establish a Nigeria Peace Corps, in line with provisions of the 1999 Constitution. The President is expected to take the decision on the bill within 30 days of receiving the bill. From the Red Chambers, the Senate on Friday began the 2016 budget. Reports say the Auditor General of the Federation in the 2016 report had raised concern over the payment of 262.4 billion naira as social benefit against the 188 billion naira provided for in the budget, resulting in extra budgetary payment of 74 billion naira without a breakdown. According to reports, the committee observed that the Accountant General could not address the query. The committee therefore recommended to the Senate that the Accountant General should refund the 74 billion naira in line with the financial regulation. However, the Senate adopted the recommendation of the committee for the refund of 74 billion naira into the Federation account. On his victory in the February 25th presidential election. In his congratulatory letter, Erdogan said he believes that as strategic partners, Nigeria under Tinubu's leadership will continue its course to a prosperous future. According to him, Turkey attaches great importance to improving its relations with Nigeria as the strongest nation on the African continent. To financial crimes now, where the United States has charged 3 Nigerians with money laundering and a fraud scheme with losses of more than $6 million. The Nigerians, 29-year-old Kosi Goodness, Simon Abo, James Jr., and money laundering related to a business email compromise BEC scheme with losses of more than $6 million. According to reports, one of them is being extradited from Canada to the U.S. to face a federal indictment in a U.S. district court in Greenbelt. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Justice said the 7-count indictment involves the defendants conspiring with 2 others to perpetrate a BEC scheme. In a separate development, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, on Friday warned Nigerians to disregard a fake recruitment portal purportedly floated by the bank. In a statement, CBN acting director asked the Deputy Director, Development Finance Department and Head of Financial Inclusion, CBN, Paul Oluipe, called for more participation by both the public and private sectors in financing green projects. According to him, the fake website purportedly lured unsuspecting applicants into divulging sensitive information about its bank verification number, BVN, among others, and rejected physical disabilities. To grave violations of their right. In a press release, UNICEF representative in Nigeria, Christian Maduate, lamented the brutal consequences of conflict on children 9 years after 276 schoolgirls were abducted in Chibok and 96 girls still in captivity. Maduate noted that the impact of the conflict on education is alarming, with repercussions likely to affect generations. Stressing its devastating reality, she noted that the recent abduction of 80 children in Zamfara state reinforces the urgent need for action to protect children in Nigeria. In education, the Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Sunday Channel, during the week revealed plans to disburse 18 million naira to 6 public universities under its special high each to 6 polytechnics and 6 colleges of education across the country. He added that over 95% of the 320 billion naira intervention budget for 2023 would go directly to beneficiary tertiary institutions. The channel added that the remaining 5% of the allocation would be used for staff salaries and allowances, project monitoring, and zonal capital projects. Moving now to Lagos, where the state government on Thursday suspended all development plans on Banana Island after the collapse of a 7-story building under construction on First Avenue. Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Benga Laska. He also revealed that the audit will help the state government determine the number of buildings being constructed without proper approval, as well as verify if approved buildings are being built in line with approval limit provided. Back here, as part of the winding down formalities of his development-centric administration, Akwa Ibom State Governor Domimano has commissioned the newly constructed 3.32 kilometers Ring Road 2 dual carriageway with underground outfall drain. Speaking during the event, the governor restated his commitment to continue serving the people till his very last day in office. A correspondent has the details.
Akwa Ibom State Governor Udom Emmanuel has named the dualized 3.32 kilometers Ring Road 2, a back road, a car road by Dodoma roundabout, after one of the founding fathers of the state and a former paramount ruler of the Roganam local government area, late Chief Samson Odoidion. Speaking during the commissioning of the road, the governor services for a good job. He further used the occasion to thank the people for their support and solidarity during the recently concluded elections, stressing that their solidarity was in defense of the next generation. Governor Emmanuel therefore assured that the incoming government will consolidate on his development-centric agenda.
A lot of places you drive through, if you check underground, you can take a whole big car underground called underground drainage system. Everything around this area channeled into the IBB flood control from Accra Road. If you check, the Accra Road did not have side drains, but right now we've taken the water off that Accra Road, channeled it through this Ring Road 2 into the underground drainage system to enable us live conveniently. The day I will leave office, I will not leave a single road in Atanaford untarred. And today, we've done 15 roads in Atanaford alone, all with side drains, with proper drainage system. And I'm sure today, there's no way you enter in Atanaford that is not tidied up, because they host the secretariat. And I want to assure you that your incoming governor is much more in capacity than me. He's going to do a lot more for you people.
Giving an overview of the road project and ensure the maintenance of the road free of charge. Engineer Koko equally thanked Governor Emmanuel for the confidence reposed in him, promising never to disappoint.
In the history of mankind, this is the first time a roundabout, 15 meters wide roundabout, 30 meters at the center, 15 meters at the paved area, constructed within a span of 10 days. It is only His Excellency, the Governor Emmanuel, that can do this. I want to thank you and congratulate you for giving HESEC the opportunity to actualize this your vision on Ring Road 3.
Earlier in his vote of thanks, the governor-elect of the state, Pastor Minor, had appreciated Governor Emmanuel for the infrastructural renaissance in the state. He assured Akwa Ibomites that he will follow Dom's footsteps by converting all the infrastructure to be economically beneficial to the people. His
footsteps will keep taking tutelage from you and will continue with the vision that you have laid down. Our job is to simply convert all of this infrastructure to begin to have entrepreneurial benefits for our people. And that's what we will do. Your Excellency, we want to thank you so very graciously. And these thanks will continue.
The event featured more goodwill messages from the chairman of the Uyo Capital City Development Authority, Enobangwa, for his people-centric government. In Uyo, Jane Uwa, Spectrum Television News.
Still in Akwa Ibom, where the state governor Udom Emmanuel says the State Map Establishment Bill recently passed by the State House of Assembly seeks to reduce agitations and communal conflict in the area and would not exclude any part of the state. The governor explained this following concerns raised by sections of the citizens on the proposed Akwa Ibom State Map Establishment Law 2023. Speaking at the Akwa Ibom State Government House monthly prayer service held at the Latter House Chapel, Governor's Lodge, Uyo, the governor assured the people that the plans to provide a state map was not designed to exclude any group from the state demarcation. According to him, the law gives the state an avenue to produce an official map to promote peace and reduce boundary conflict. Governor Emmanuel, who commended the security agencies for sustaining a peaceful environment in the state, however, hinted that the International Christian Worship Center would be inaugurated next month, while his valedictory Thanksgiving service is expected to hold at the venue. The governor again assured that other projects, including the terminal building, MRO and taxiway at the Victor Atta International Airport, would be inaugurated before the end of his administration. To them, the whirlwind had pulled off some roofs and houses and shops, damaged market wares and the transformer supplying electricity to a section of a back road, causing an interruption of power since the incidents. They therefore called on the government to come to their aid in fixing the damaged transformer in order to restore power.
The effect of the wild wind that accompanied with the rain that failed on Sunday was so disastrous. In fact, on Sunday, we the occupants of this building couldn't stay here during the rain because the wind was very heavy, very disastrous. If there's any way the government can help us so that such occurrence will not happen again.
The wild wind storm on Sunday, it was very, very disastrous. It destroyed many poles in our streets. It fell down like 4 to 5 to 6 poles in our street. As I'm talking to now, there's some street that doesn't have lights in our back road by Ikonokubo Fort. So I would like to beg the government to maybe take a walk to that Ikonokubo by transformer and enter those streets by your right. You see many poles there. It affected some transformer. One pole even fell on top one transformer and burst the transformer. So I'll beg the government to go and assist us and work the transformer so that we can have a light.
Still to come in the news. FTX token hits highest value in 4 months amid plans to reopen. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us. In Africa, the UN's World Food Programme on Friday said it will be unable to feed refugees in Chad next month due to numbers rising due to unrest. 455,600 refugees, down to only around 270,000 in April. Meanwhile, the UN Refugee Agency said it was looking to raise $172.5 million to provide protection and relief assistance to 1 million forcibly displaced people and their hosts in Chad. Still in Africa, Swiss President Alain Berset, whose country will preside over the UN Security Council in May, has pledged to work for the civilian population victims of the conflict in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Speaking at the joint press conference with his Congolese counterpart, Felix Tshisekedi, the Swiss president said they want to focus on those who are the first victims of insecurity. Reports say Alain Berset has been visiting the DRC since Wednesday after violence from armed groups for nearly 30 years. He will visit camps for displaced persons in Goma, capital of North Kivu province, where the M23 rebels have displaced thousands of people since the end of 2021. Having joined the United Nations only 20 years ago, Switzerland has been a non-permanent member of the Security Council since January and will assume the presidency for a month in May. In the meantime, the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo within the week ruled out political negotiations with the M23 rebel groups as part of an internationally brokered peace deal. The group has been withdrawing from areas before returning to civilian life. The group, which is widely reported to be backed by Rwanda, had previously said it was expecting negotiations with the government. Reports say with the president ruling that out, the peace process could stumble. Meanwhile, over the last 18 months, around 750,000 people have been displaced by the fighting. Meanwhile, Botswana's president Masisi would fire his deputy after the 2024 general elections. Speaking after chairing a meeting of the ruling Botswana Democratic Party BDP, President Masisi said his vice had been a hard-working vice president since his appointment to the position of 2018. He said he had never planned with anyone or held from court on Thursday dismissed the opposition's request to hold the ongoing nationwide voter registration ahead of October presidential and legislative elections. The collaborating political parties, CPP, claimed listing voters without first demarcating constituencies according to the recent national census was unconstitutional, but in a unanimous verdict, the court said it saw no basis for disturbing the voters' registration exercise, since the National Elections Commission's NEC was not in violation of the Constitution, as alleged. According to the courts, the case did not constitute an election matter. Report says the court ruling allows the electoral body to move ahead with Phase 2 of the voter registration exercise, having already conducted Phase 1 last month, which was overshadowed by a series of technical glitches. Meanwhile, 32 Kenyan nationals have been sentenced to 10 years in jail, as well as illegal possession of ammunition, offences triable in a military court in Uganda. Uganda's Deputy Army spokesperson Colonel Deo Akiki has confirmed the sentences. According to report, each offence attracts a 10-year jail term, and the court ruled that the convict will serve the sentences concurrently. The Kenyans are all residents of the bordering Lodwar district. They were convicted on their own plea of guilty and will serve in the region. On the foreign scene, the French Constitutional Court on Friday provided the key element of the President Emmanuel Macron's controversial pension reform, while rejecting certain part of legislation. According to reports, the legislation is deeply unpopular in France and has triggered the retirement age from 62 to 64 was validated by the Constitutional Council after almost 3 months of protests opposing the measure. The court struck out 6 measures not seen as fundamental to the essence of the reform and threw out a request filed by the left for a referendum on the alternative pension law that would keep the retirement age at 62. Meanwhile, a 21-year-old U.S. National Guardsman, Jack Teixeira, was charged with leaking a trove of classified United States government documents as he made his first appearance in court on Friday. Teixeira was arrested Thursday following a week-long probe into one of the most damaging leaks of secrets since the 2018 dump of National Security Agency documents by Edward Snowden. He was charged with the unauthorized retention and transmission of national defense information to a short hearing in Boston. He is also accused of the unauthorized removal and retention of classified document or material. Meanwhile, the embarrassing security breach has revealed American concerns about weaknesses in Ukraine's military and pointed to U.S. spying on allies including Israel, Allied, and Korea. Still on the foreign scene, Norway within the week expelled 15 employees of the Russian Secret Service, saying they carried out activities incompatible with their diplomatic status. Norwegian Foreign Minister Anniken Huitfeldt revealed that in a statement, saying Russia currently poses the greatest intelligence threat to Norway. Meanwhile, the ministry said the diplomats must leave Norway within a short period of time and visa applications. A missile launched by North Korea sparked confusion in northern Japan, where an evacuation order was issued and then retraced within 30 minutes. Reports say sirens blared across Hokkaido and residents were told to evacuate immediately. Meanwhile, the authorities later said the missile did not land near the island and withdrew the alert. Tensions have reportedly been growing in the region as North Korea has already fired 27 missiles this year. Still on the foreign scene, former president's company's business practices, reversing an earlier decision to invoke his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination and remain silent. The Republican met all day with lawyers for Attorney General Letitia James, who sued Trump last year. Her lawsuit claims Trump and his family misled banks and business associates by giving them false information about his net worth and the value of assets such as hotels and golf courses. According to reports, shortly after Trump entered the Manhattan skyscraper that houses James' offices, his attorney, Alina Haber, said that he was not only willing but also eager to testify. Meanwhile, the European Union's central data regulator said it was forming a task force to help countries deal with widely popular AI chatbot chats. Data gathering broke privacy laws, and France's regulator said it had opened a formal procedure after receiving 5 complaints. According to report, ChatGPT can generate essays, poems, and conversations from the briefest of prompt and has proved itself capable of passing some tough exams. In business, the token offered by the cryptocurrency exchange futures exchange trading FTX appreciated in value by 74.04% in the last 24 hours after a report emerged that the closed crypto could reopen to the public. FTC filed for bankruptcy due to alleged financial abuse by the co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried. Meanwhile, FTC is considering reopening at some point in the future. Its lawyers from Sullivan and Crowell said during a court hearing. The report of FTX resuming operations sends the firm's token up by 74.04% as demand for the crypto token hit 2.28 cents, up from its lowest in 24 hours of 1.33 cents. Still in business, the UK economy saw no growth in February after facing the effect of strikes by public sector workers. According to the Office for National Statistics, a rise in construction activity had been offset by walkout by teachers and civil servants. It follows a surprise 0.4% jump in economic growth in January. Reports say despite February's flat performance, the Chancellor said the economic outlook was brighter than expected and the UK was set to avoid recession. Meanwhile, Jeremy Hunt has noted that GDP, the measure of economic growth, had grown by 0.1% in 3 months to February. Meanwhile, the federal government on Wednesday approved the procurement and installation of luggage scanners in all railway stations in Abuja, handheld scanners. The Minister of State for Transportation, Ademola Adegoroye, who briefed State House correspondent after the week's Federal Executive Council meeting, said the procurement would cost 498 million naira. He further stated that the new installation was part of the federal government's ongoing program to enhance railway transport safety. Still to come in the news. Bay and suspend main after saying dressing room quarrel. To stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Nigerian police force, which is the only one allowed by. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder.
Talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord. I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us. Employed in Nigeria. in spite of the brain drain in the country's health sector. Ojima stated this during an interview and expressed worry over the exodus of Nigerian medical practitioners leaving the country for greener pastures abroad. Recall that a bill was sponsored by a lawmaker from Lagos, Ganiyu Johnson, seeking for a mandatory 5-year practice in Nigeria by Nigerian doctors before being given a full practicing license. The bill had passed second reading in the House of Representatives. However, Ojima argued that notwithstanding the high number of medical practitioners leaving the country, there were still many doctors unemployed in the country. Still in health, Ghana on Thursday became the first country in the world to approve a new malaria vaccine from Oxford University. The vaccine, called R21, appears to be hygienic. Studies in Burkina Faso showed the R21 vaccine was set up to 80% effective when given as 3 initial doses and a booster a year later. Meanwhile, children under the age of 3 years old are in line to benefit from the vaccine. Moving now to sport, where Bayern Munich within a week suspended forward Sadio Mane for 1 game following an Al-Tassani was hit in the face by the Senegal attacker, suffering a cut sleeve after Tuesday's loss. The 1-match suspension means Mane will be available for manager Thomas Tuchel in Wednesday's return leg against Manchester City in Munich. Bild report the clash started in the dying stages of Bayern's loss in Manchester, with footage showing the two arguing on the pitch. Still in sport, Al Nassr on Friday announced that head coach Rudy Garcia has left the club by mutual agreement. Garcia has been fired due to his poor relationship with the dressing room, which includes Cristiano Ronaldo. According to reports, he recently confronted the players, a move which proved costly as the Sadio out in his club's ambitious project. With 7 fixtures left to play, Al Nassr is currently in second place, 3 points behind Al Ittihad. Meanwhile, Arsenal legend Thierry Henry has picked Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. Vinicius was the top performer in Wednesday night's Champions League quarter-final clash between Real Madrid and Chelsea. The Brazilian made a huge contribution in Los Blancos' 2-0 win over Real Madrid in the first leg of the Champions League quarter-final on Wednesday. Karim Benzema and Marco Asensio were the scorers for Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, but Vinicius' frantic fixture schedule is damaging his bid to solve his struggling team's problems. Lampard is in charge at Chelsea until the end of the season after the Blues legend returned to replace his sacked Graham Potter last week. But the 44-year-old has had limited time to work with his team players on the training pitch in a period that will see the team play 4 times in 11 days. Lampard worked with the squad for the first time 24 hours before last Saturday's one.
Real cushion, the sub is the scorer. No one picked up Asensio.
Meanwhile, Paris Saint-Germain superstar Lionel Messi is considering joining Al Nassr, a club in Saudi Pro League, SPL. That is the same club footing the bills of iconic striker Cristiano Ronaldo. The report by LA Gazzetta Sport claims that the 35-year-old wants to form a formidable partnership with Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia. Messi is seriously considering the move as he plans his next move with recent games following their exit from the UEFA Champions League. Meanwhile, another SPL side, Al Hilal, are reportedly still interested in signing Messi and could join the race to sign the Argentine. On our entertainment news, popular comedian Bright Okocha, also known as Basket Mouth, on Thursday confirmed that he after 12 years of marriage. The announcement, however, saw some people dismissing it as a joke. In an interview with Newsman, Basketmal confirmed that indeed he is separated from his wife. Still on entertainment, the family of British miniskirt pioneer Mary Quant within the week announced her demise. Quant, the fashion queen of Britain's swinging 60s, who was credited with popularizing the miniskirt, died today at the age of 93. She became a historical figure for the creation of miniskirts and generally made women's clothes fun and inexpensive. She played an undisputable role in turning the scheming subject of a long and bitter dispute with late French designer André Cargès, among others. Well known much for her iconic bob hairstyle, as for her designs, Quant also created hot pants, the skinny rib sweater, and waterproof mascara. Meanwhile, Warner Bros. Discovery has announced that the first Harry Potter television series is set to be made, with author J.K. Rowling acting as an executive producer. According to the entertainment company's rebranded streaming service Max, the Max streaming service with a combined platforms HBO, Max and Discovery Plus will officially launch the series in the United States on May 23rd. And finally, on news within the week, Olalekan Ponle, popularly known as Mr. Woodbury, has pleaded guilty to wire fraud. Reports say Ponle agreed to forfeit $8 million in proceeds of $8 million he fraudulently received from 7 companies. Recall that on June 10, 2020, Woodbury was arrested in Dubai for cybercrime alongside his associate Marmon Hushpopi Abbas, who is currently serving an 11-year sentence for a similar fraud charge. And that's all we have for you on Spectrum News within the week. I am Rachel David.